71 years. That's how long I tried to be the perfect mother. 38 years of those, I did it alone after my Robert passed. And 3 years, 3 long years, where I gave everything I had left. But you know what's funny about perfection? Sometimes it takes just 7 words to shatter it completely. 7 words that would change everything I thought I knew about love, sacrifice, and what it means to be family. We only invited special people, Mom. Let me back up, because this story doesn't start with betrayal. It starts the way most of our stories do, with love, with hope, with the belief that if you just give enough, care enough, sacrifice enough, everything will turn out right. That's what they taught us, wasn't it? Be strong, be selfless, hold your family together no matter what. My name is Renat Williams, and I'm 71 years old. I've lived in Atlanta my whole life, raised my son Marcus in the same house where his daddy and I started our life together. That house on Peachtree Street holds 50 years of memories, the good ones and the ones that tested my faith. When Robert died of a heart attack 38 years ago, Marcus was only 3 years old. 3 years old and suddenly without a father. I remember that morning like it was yesterday. Robert left for work at the auto shop, kissed me on the forehead like he did every morning, told me he'd be home for dinner. By noon, I got the call. By evening, I was a widow. By the next morning, I had to figure out how to be both mother and father to a little boy who kept asking when Daddy was coming home. You want to know what strength looks like? It looks like working double shifts at the hospital as a nursing assistant while your body screams for rest. It looks like coming home at midnight, checking your sleeping child's homework, packing his lunch for the next day, and setting your alarm for 5 a.m. because that's when your next shift starts. It looks like saying no to yourself for decades so you can say yes to your child. I never remarried, not because I didn't have opportunities. Lord knows I had a few good men show interest over the years. But every time I thought about bringing someone new into our lives, I'd look at Marcus and think, he's been through enough. He needs stability. He needs to know his mama isn't going anywhere, isn't changing anything, isn't dividing her attention. So I didn't. I devoted everything to that boy. Everything. Marcus was a good kid growing up. Not perfect, what child is, but good. He made decent grades, stayed out of serious trouble, went to church with me every Sunday. When he graduated high school, I cried tears of joy. When he got into community college, I worked extra overtime to help pay for it. When he graduated and got his first real job as an assistant manager at a retail store, I threw him a party at the church. I was proud, so incredibly proud. Then, about 5 years ago, Marcus met Sarah. She seemed nice enough at first, polite, well-dressed, always had a smile ready. They dated for about a year before Marcus brought her by the house to meet me officially. I made my famous Sunday dinner: fried chicken, collard greens, mac and cheese, cornbread, sweet potato pie, the works. Sarah picked at her food and mentioned 3 times that she was watching her carbs. She complimented my house, but suggested I might want to update the decor to something more modern. She asked about my retirement plans and seemed surprised I was still working at 70. But she was sweet to Marcus and he seemed happy, so I told myself I was just being an overprotective mother. Give her a chance, I told myself. You're not losing a son, you're dating a daughter. Oh, how wrong I was. They got engaged 2 years ago. Marcus didn't ask for my blessing, just called me one evening and said, "We're engaged, Mom." Sarah said yes. I pushed down the small hurt I felt at not being consulted and instead focused on being happy for him. I told him congratulations, asked if they'd set a date, offered to help in any way I could. "We'll let you know, Mom," he said. "Sarah's pretty particular about how she wants things." That should have been my first real warning sign. But mothers, we're experts at making excuses for our children, aren't we? We tell ourselves stories that make everything okay, even when, deep down, we know something's shifting. The problem started about 3 years ago when Marcus lost his job. The retail company was downsizing, and he was one of the cuts. He called me in tears, actual tears, my 30-something-year-old son, crying like he did when he was 5 and fell off his bike. "Mom, I don't know what to do. Sarah and I were supposed to get married next year. I've got rent, car payments, credit card bills. I'm drowning here." What would you have done if your child, your only child, the one you raised alone, the one you sacrificed everything for, came to you desperate and scared? What would you have done? I did what mothers do. I helped. "Come stay with me," I said. "Both of you. Save your money, get back on your feet. The house is paid off. I've got room." "Mom, I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. I'm offering. That's what family does." So Marcus and Sarah moved into my house. My house, where I'd lived for 50 years, where I'd raised my son, where every corner held a memory of Robert and the life we tried to build together. I told myself it would be temporary, a few months, maybe 6 at the most, just until Marcus found another job and got back on his feet. I could handle anything for 6 months, right? 6 months turned into 3 years. Now, before you judge me for letting it go on that long, let me explain something. When you've been a caretaker your whole life, when your identity is built around being the strong one, the provider, the one who holds everything together, it's hard to know when to stop. It's hard to see when help becomes enabling. It's hard to admit that maybe, just maybe, you're being taken advantage of. Because I was being taken advantage of. I see that now, but at the time I told myself I was being a good mother, a supportive mother, the kind of mother who puts her family first no matter what. Marcus did eventually find another job, but it paid less than his previous one. "I'm still getting back on my feet, Mom," he'd say, whenever I gently suggest maybe it was time they'd looked for their own place. "Just a little longer. I promise we'll be out of your hair soon." Sarah stopped even pretending to be grateful after the first year. She'd complain about the house being old, about my cooking being too heavy, about me watching my gospel programs too loud. She redecorated the guest room they were staying in without asking. She rearranged my kitchen cabinets because the organization didn't make sense. But the worst part, the part that hurt more than I wanted to admit, Marcus started changing. My sweet boy who used to check on me, who used to ask about my day, who used to help around the house without being asked, that boy started disappearing. He'd come home from work and go straight to his room. He'd eat dinner in front of the TV instead of at the table with me. And when I tried to have a conversation, he'd give one-word answers. And when I gently bring up concerns about their living situation or their plans for the future, he'd snap at me. "Stop pressuring us, Mom. We'll move out when we're ready." "You're so old-fashioned, Mom. Things are different now. Why do you always have to criticize Sarah?" That last one hurt the most because I wasn't trying to criticize. I was just trying to understand why my future daughter-in-law seemed to resent me so much when I was literally providing them a free place to live. Still, I kept quiet. I kept helping. I kept telling myself that this was just a rough patch, that things would get better once they got married and moved out, that I was doing the right thing by supporting my son. Want to know the really pathetic part? I was excited about the wedding. Despite everything, despite the tension and the lack of appreciation, I was genuinely looking forward to seeing my son get married. I imagined helping with the planning, maybe hosting the rehearsal dinner, standing proud on his wedding day knowing that I'd helped him get to this moment. I should have known better. The wedding planning started about 6 months before the actual event. I knew this not because Marcus or Sarah told me directly, but because I'd overhear their conversations. They'd sit in the living room, my living room, scrolling through their phones, talking about venues and caterers and photographers, and I'd be in the kitchen pretending I wasn't listening, hoping they'd invite me into the conversation. They never did. "Mom, we've got the wedding planning under control," Marcus said, when I finally worked up the courage to ask if they needed any help. "Sarah's got a whole system. We don't want to overwhelm you with all the details." "I wouldn't be overwhelmed, baby. I'd love to help. We've got it handled, Mom." That phrase became his favorite response to everything. "We've got it handled," like I was some burden trying to insert myself where I wasn't wanted, instead of his mother who'd spent 3 years housing, feeding, and financially supporting them. Oh, did I forget to mention that part? Let me tell you about the money. When Marcus first moved in, I told him not to worry about rent. "Save your money," I said. "Get back on your feet." But over those 3 years, it became clear that getting back on their feet meant something very different to them than it did to me. I still paid all the utilities. The water bill went up with 2 extra people showering, doing laundry, running the dishwasher. The electric bill doubled. The grocery bills tripled because Sarah had specific brand preferences that cost twice what I usually spent. Then there were the small favors. "Can you pay my car insurance this month, Mom? I'm a little short." "Can you cover my phone bill? I had an unexpected expense." "Can you lend me money for Sarah's birthday present? I want to get her something nice." Every time I said yes. Every single time. Because that's what mothers do, right? We give until there's nothing left to give. I kept a record, not because I planned to ask for it back, but because I needed to see it written down to believe it myself. I have a little notebook I keep in my nightstand drawer, and I'd write down every amount. Every $20 here, every 100 there, every monthly bill I covered. Want to know what the total was after 3 years? $33,400. $33,400. Let me say that again so it really sinks in. I gave my son and his fiancée $33,400 over 3 years on a nursing assistant salary and a fixed Social Security income. That's not counting the free housing, the free food, the free utilities. I didn't have that money just lying around. I took it from my savings, the savings I'd been building since Robert died, the savings I'd planned to use for home repairs, for medical emergencies, for maybe taking one nice trip before I got too old to travel. Every dollar in that account represented a sacrifice, an extra shift worked, a luxury I denied myself. And I gave it away because my son said he needed it, because I believed we were family, and family takes care of each other. I should have known that street only ran one way. About 4 months before the wedding, I noticed Sarah was getting packages delivered almost daily. Designer shopping bags would pile up in their room. She'd come home with new clothes, new shoes, new handbags. When I gently mentioned that maybe they should be saving money for their future, she looked at me like I'd suggested she stop breathing. "Renee, I work hard. I deserve to treat myself." Renee, not Mom, not even Miss Williams, just Renee, like I was some random woman on the street instead of the woman who was housing her for free. "I'm just saying that if you're planning a wedding and trying to save for your own place, our finances are none of your business," she cut me off. Then she turned to Marcus, who was sitting right there, and said, "Can you please tell your mother to stop monitoring what I buy?" And my son, who I raised alone, who I sacrificed everything for, looked at me and said, "Mom, Sarah's right. What she does with her money is her business." Her money. As if the money she was spending wasn't being saved because she wasn't paying rent, utilities, or groceries. I went to my room that night and cried for the first time in years, not sad tears. angry tears, the kind that burn your eyes and make your chest tight. I was angry at them, yes, but I was even angrier at myself for allowing it to get to this point. Just a little longer, I told myself. After the wedding, they'll move out and things will go back to normal. 3 months before the wedding, I asked Marcus when I should expect my invitation. He looked confused. Your invitation? To the wedding, baby. I need to know the date so I can request off work, and I'd like to know the color so I can find an appropriate dress. Oh, right. Yeah, we'll get you the details soon. Soon turned into 2 months before the wedding, then 1 month, then 3 weeks. Marcus, I really need to know about the wedding, I said one evening after dinner. It's coming up and I haven't heard anything official. He exchanged a look with Sarah. You know the kind of look I'm talking about, the one that passes between couples when they've discussed something privately and now have to deliver news they know won't be received well. Mom, about that. The wedding is going to be small, really intimate, just close friends and immediate family. I felt a chill run through me. I am immediate family, Marcus. I'm your mother. I know, but he glanced at Sarah again, like he needed her permission to continue. The venue has capacity limits. We had to be really selective about the guest list. How many people? I asked. About 100. 100 people. 100 people at this intimate wedding, but somehow his mother was a question mark. So, am I invited or not? I asked directly, because I needed to hear him say it out loud. Of course you're invited, Mom. Don't be dramatic. But I never received an invitation. Not in the mail, not by email, not hand-delivered, nothing. 2 weeks before the wedding, I asked again. Marcus, I still haven't gotten my invitation. What's the date? What's the time? What's the address? I'll text you the details, he said. He didn't. 1 week before the wedding, I made myself ask one more time. I was standing in my kitchen, the kitchen where I cooked thousands of meals for this boy, and he was grabbing a snack from the refrigerator before heading out with Sarah. Marcus, baby, please. The wedding is next week. I need to know the details. I haven't bought a dress. I haven't requested time off work. I don't even know where it's being held. That's when Sarah turned around. That's when she looked at me with those cold eyes. That's when she said the words that would echo in my mind for months afterward. Renee, we only invited special people to our wedding. People who are actually supportive of our relationship. People who don't constantly judge us and make us feel unwelcome in our own home. Our own home. My home. The home I'd paid for. The home I'd opened to them. The home where they'd lived rent-free for 3 years. I looked at Marcus, waiting for him to correct her, to defend me, to remind her whose home this actually was. He didn't. He just stood there looking uncomfortable, looking at his feet like he used to do when he was a little boy who'd been caught doing something wrong. Marcus? My voice broke on his name. Mom, maybe it's better if you sit this one out. Sarah's family is already going to be there, and her parents aren't thrilled about... He stopped himself. Aren't thrilled about what? Nothing. Never mind. Look, we'll celebrate with you after. We'll have dinner or something. Sarah grabbed her purse. We need to go. We have a final fitting appointment. And they left. They walked out of my house, the house I provided for free, leaving me standing in my kitchen with tears running down my face. But you know what the worst part was? The part that made me feel like someone had reached into my chest and squeezed my heart until it stopped beating? I still made excuses for him. I still told myself that Sarah was manipulating him, that he was stressed about the wedding, that he didn't really mean to hurt me. I told myself that after they got married and moved out, My sweet boy would come back to me. I told myself a lot of lies in those days. The wedding was on a Saturday. I know this because I found out on social media. You heard that right. I found out about my own son's wedding through Facebook. It was Sunday morning, and I was sitting in church like I do every Sunday. Pastor Jenkins was preaching about forgiveness, about turning the other cheek, about loving those who hurt you. I was trying to focus on his words, trying to let them soothe the ache in my chest that hadn't gone away since that conversation in my kitchen. Marcus and Sarah had left Friday afternoon, or staying at a hotel near the venue, Marcus said, to make things easier on the wedding day. He still hadn't told me I wasn't invited. He just let me believe that maybe, somehow, I'd still be included. That's almost crueler than a direct rejection, isn't it? Leaving someone hanging on hope when you know there isn't any? After church, I went to lunch with my friend Dorothy. We've been friends for 40 years, ever since our boys were in elementary school together. She knew everything that had been happening. I'd been confiding in her for months, and she'd been telling me things I didn't want to hear. "Renate, that boy is taking advantage of you," she'd say. "You need to put your foot down." "He's my son, Dorothy. What am I supposed to do? Throw him out?" "You're supposed to teach him to stand on his own 2 feet. You're supposed to show him that love doesn't mean letting people walk all over you." I'd always change the subject when she said things like that. But that Sunday, sitting across from her at our favorite soul food restaurant, I couldn't avoid it anymore. "The wedding was yesterday," I said quietly. Dorothy put down her fork. And I wasn't there." "What do you mean you weren't there?" "I mean, they never officially invited me. Every time I asked, Marcus would say he'd send me the details. He never did. And then Friday, they left for a hotel, and I realized I'm not invited to my own son's wedding." Dorothy's face went through about 5 different emotions in 3 seconds. "That ungrateful, disrespectful, don't," I cut her off. "He's still my son." "Being your son doesn't give him the right to treat you like garbage, Renate. Do you hear yourself? You've given that boy everything, and he can't even invite you to his wedding?" I felt tears starting again. I'd cried so much over the past few weeks that I was surprised I had any tears left. Maybe I did something wrong. Maybe I pushed too hard about them moving out. Maybe Sarah felt judged by me. "Stop it." Dorothy reached across the table and grabbed my hand. "Stop making excuses for them. This isn't your fault." But it felt like my fault. It felt like I'd failed somehow. Like if I'd just been a better mother, a more understanding person, a less judgmental presence, things would be different. We finished lunch and Dorothy drove me home. When we pulled up to my house, she turned to me and said, "Check Facebook." "What?" "Just check it. Sarah posts everything on social media. I guarantee you the wedding photos are already up." I didn't want to. I really didn't want to see the proof of my exclusion displayed for the world to see. But Dorothy was right. I needed to see it. I needed to stop living in denial. When I got inside, I opened my laptop and went to Facebook. I didn't have to search far. Sarah had posted at least 20 photos, and they'd been shared by multiple people, including some of my own distant relatives who apparently had been invited when I wasn't. There was Sarah in her white dress looking beautiful. There was Marcus in his tuxedo looking handsome and happy. There were photos of them cutting the cake, their first dance, toasting with champagne. There were photos of Sarah with her bridesmaids, Marcus with his groomsmen. There were photos of both sets of parents, Sarah's parents standing proud and smiling. And there I was nowhere, erased, like I didn't exist. Like I hadn't spent 38 years raising that man by myself. Like I hadn't given him everything I had. I sat there staring at those photos until the screen blurred from my tears. And then something shifted inside me. Something that had been bending for 3 years finally snapped. I wasn't sad anymore. I was angry. No, angry doesn't even cover it. I was furious. I was done. I was finished making excuses, finished being understanding, finished sacrificing myself for people who clearly didn't value me. I opened my nightstand drawer and pulled out that little notebook, the one where I'd been tracking every dollar I'd given them. I sat down and calculated the total one more time, just to be sure. $33,400. Plus 3 years of free housing in a neighborhood where rent would easily be $1,200 a month. That's another $43,200. Plus groceries, toiletries, household supplies, at least another $15,000 over 3 years. We were talking about over $100,000 in value that I'd provided. $100,000, and I wasn't even special enough to invite to their wedding? I thought about Dorothy's words. You're supposed to teach him that love doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. She was right. I taught Marcus the wrong lesson. I taught him that he could take and take and take, and Mama would always give. I taught him that respect was optional, that gratitude was unnecessary, that I would accept any treatment as long as he kept calling me Mom. Well, I was done teaching that lesson. They came home Sunday evening, still glowing from their wedding day. I was sitting in my living room when they walked in, suitcases in hand, looking tired but happy. Hey, Mom, Marcus said casually, like everything was normal, like he hadn't just excluded me from one of the most important days of his life. Did you have a nice time? I asked, my voice carefully neutral. It was perfect, Sarah said, not even looking at me as she headed toward their room. Absolutely perfect. Marcus lingered for a moment. We'll show you pictures later, okay? I'm exhausted. We're going to rest. He started to walk away, and I said, Marcus? He turned back. Yeah? We need to talk. Soon. Something in my voice must have registered because his expression changed slightly. About what? About your future plans. About when you'll be moving out. Mom, we just got back from our wedding. Can we talk about this later? We've been saying later for 3 years, baby. We're going to talk about it this week. He looked like he wanted to argue, but something in my face stopped him. Fine, this week. I promise. They went to their room, and I sat there, in my living room, and felt something I hadn't felt in a long time. Power. I'd spent 3 years feeling helpless, feeling like I couldn't say no, couldn't set boundaries, couldn't risk upsetting them. But that wedding, or rather my exclusion from it, had freed me. When someone shows you that clearly that they don't matter to you, it makes it a whole lot easier to stop worrying about what they think. The next morning, I did something I should have done months ago. I called a lawyer. Not to sue them. I wasn't there yet. But I wanted to know my rights. I wanted to know how to legally evict someone if it came to that. I wanted to be prepared. Mrs. Williams, the lawyer said after I explained my situation, in Georgia, even if someone isn't paying rent, if they've been living in your home for an extended period, they're considered tenants. You need to give them a formal eviction notice. How long would that take? Typically 30 days, but it could be longer if they contest it. 30 more days minimum. I could survive 30 more days. I'd survive 3 years. That evening, I asked Marcus to sit down with me. Sarah conveniently had errands to run. She always seemed to disappear when serious conversations were happening. What's up, Mom? Marcus asked, sprawling on my couch like he owned it. I need you and Sarah to start looking for your own place. Seriously looking. He sighed. Mom, we've talked about this. We're saving. For 3 years, you've been saving. You got married. You're adults. It's time. We can't just snap our fingers and find a place, Mom. These things take time. Then I'm giving you time. 60 days. 2 months to find somewhere and move out. His eyes widened. 60 days? That's not enough time. It's more than enough time for two working adults to find an apartment. This is because of the wedding, isn't it? I told you we'd celebrate with you separately. I looked at my son, really looked at him. When did he become this person? This man who could take and take and take, and Mama would always give? I taught him that respect was optional, that gratitude was unnecessary, that I would accept any treatment as long as he kept calling me Mom. Well, I was done teaching that lesson. Marcus had the decency to look ashamed. Sarah thought, I don't want to hear about what Sarah thought. You're a grown man, Marcus. You make your own choices, and you chose to exclude your mother from your wedding. That's on you, not her. I'm sorry, Mom. I really am, but kicking us out won't. I'm not kicking you out. I'm giving you 60 days notice to find your own place. That's more than fair. He stood up, angry now. Fine, we'll leave, and maybe then you'll realize how lonely you are without us here. He went to his room and slammed the door. And I sat there feeling something unexpected. Relief. Those 60 days were the longest and shortest of my life. Long because the tension in that house was thick enough to cut with a knife. Short because I knew once they left, I'd be truly alone for the first time in years. Marcus barely spoke to me. He'd come home from work, eat dinner in his room, and avoid eye contact. Sarah stopped even pretending to be civil. She'd walk past me like I was invisible, slamming doors, making pointed comments about ungrateful people who don't appreciate family. The irony wasn't lost on me. I spent those 60 days preparing myself mentally. I called Dorothy almost every night, and she'd remind me I was doing the right thing. You're not being mean, Renata. You're being healthy. There's a difference. I also spent time thinking about what I wanted my life to look like after they left. For 3 years, I'd shaped my entire existence around their needs, their schedules, their preferences. What did I want? When was the last time I'd even asked myself that question? About 3 weeks into the 60 days, something happened that changed everything. It was a Thursday evening. I was in my bedroom reading when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something told me to pick up. Hello? Hi, is this for Nada Williams? A woman's voice, professional but strained. Yes, who's calling? This is Jennifer from Cascade Property Management. I'm calling about Marcus Williams. He listed you as a reference on his rental application. My heart actually lifted for a second. He was looking for a place. He was taking this seriously. Yes, Marcus is my son. What do you need to know? Well, we require references to verify employment and character. Can you confirm that Marcus has steady employment and is financially responsible? Financially responsible. The words echoed in my head. I thought about the $33,400. I thought about 3 years of free housing. I thought about a wedding I wasn't invited to. Mrs. Williams, are you still there? I had a choice in that moment. I could lie. I could give Marcus a glowing reference like a good mother should. I could help him secure this apartment and ensure he moved out on time. Or I could tell the truth. Ma'am, I said slowly, I need to be honest with you. Marcus has been living with me rent-free for 3 years. In that time, I've lent him over $30,000 that hasn't been repaid. I can confirm he has a job, but I cannot confirm he's financially responsible. There was a long pause. I see. Thank you for your honesty, Mrs. Williams. She hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, my heart pounding. What had I just done? I'd probably cost Marcus that apartment. He'd be furious. Sarah would be livid. But I told the truth. After 3 years of making excuses, of covering for him, of pretending everything was fine, I finally told the truth. 2 hours later, Marcus burst into my room without knocking. What did you tell them? Who, who tell? The property management company. They just called and said they're denying my application based on my reference. What did you say? I stood up, looked my son in the eye, and said calmly, I told them the truth. The truth, you sabotaged me. You deliberately ruined my chance at that apartment. I told them you've been living here rent-free for 3 years and that you owe me money. That's not sabotage. That's facts. I can't believe you do this to me. You're my mother. And you're my son. The son who didn't invite me to your wedding, the son who's taken advantage of me for 3 years, the son who treats me like a bank account with no feelings. Sarah appeared in the doorway. What's going on? Your mother-in-law just cost us an apartment, Marcus spat. Sarah's eyes narrowed at me. You really are a bitter old woman, aren't you? You can't stand to see us happy. Something inside me snapped completely. Get out. They both stared at me. I said get out. Not in 60 days, not next week, now. We have rights, Sarah shrieked. You can't just throw us out. We'll call the police. Call them, I said, my voice steady. And I'll show them the eviction notice I filed last week. You have been officially notified, and after what just happened, I'm within my rights to demand you leave immediately for creating a hostile environment. I was bluffing about that last part. I'd consulted with my lawyer, but hadn't actually filed anything yet. But they didn't know that. Marcus looked at me like he'd never seen me before. Mom, please, we don't have anywhere to go. You should have thought about that before you spent 3 years treating me like garbage. You should have thought about that before you excluded me from your wedding. You should have thought about that before you came into my bedroom screaming at me. Where are we supposed to go? His voice cracked, and for a second I saw my little boy again, the one who needed his mama. But that little boy was gone. He'd been replaced by this man who used people and felt entitled to their generosity. That's not my problem anymore, Marcus. You're a married man now. Figure it out. They left that night, packed what they could fit in their car, took their important belongings, and drove away. I watched from my window as the taillights disappeared down the street. Then I went to my living room, sat on my couch, in my house, in my space, and I cried. But these tears were different. They weren't tears of sadness or betrayal. They were tears of release, of freedom, of finally putting myself first. Dorothy came over the next morning with coffee and breakfast. She took one look at me and said, You did it. I did it. How do you feel? Guilty, relieved, scared, free. All of it at once. That's normal. You just set a boundary for the first time in years. Your body doesn't know what to do with that. She was right. For the next few days, I kept expecting them to come back, to apologize, to beg for another chance. Part of me even wanted them to. But they didn't. What did happen about a week later surprised me more than anything else. My phone rang. Marcus's number. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. Hello? Mom? His voice was different, smaller. The rent is due on our hotel room. We've been staying at a motel, but we're out of money. Can you help us? And there it was. After everything, after the disrespect, the exclusion from the wedding, the screaming, the dramatic exit, he was calling to ask for money. I thought about all the times I'd said yes to this question, all the times I'd put his needs above my own, all the times I dipped into my savings account telling myself I was being a good mother. No, I said. What? No, Marcus, I can't help you. Mom, please, we're desperate. We have nowhere to go. You have jobs. You have paychecks. You have the money you saved from living with me rent-free for 3 years. Figure it out. I don't have that money. We spent it on the wedding. The wedding. The wedding I wasn't invited to, the one where I wasn't special enough to attend. They spent their savings on that wedding, probably my money, in fact, and now they want it more. Then I guess you need to make some different choices, baby, but those choices don't involve me anymore. I can't believe you're doing this. What happened to family taking care of family? Oh, now he wanted to talk about family. Now he wanted to remember that we were related. You're absolutely right, Marcus. Family should take care of family. I spent 3 years taking care of you. Now it's time for you to take care of yourself. So that's it? You're just abandoning me? No, baby. You abandoned me the day you decided I wasn't special enough for your wedding. I'm just finally accepting it. I hung up. My hands were shaking. My heart was racing. But I didn't cry this time. I'd done it. I actually said no. And you know what? The world didn't end. Lightning didn't strike me down. I didn't stop being a mother just because I'd set a boundary. Marcus called 3 more times that week, each time asking for money. Each time I said no. The 4th time he called, he tried a different approach. Mom, I'm sorry. I know I messed up. I should have invited you to the wedding. Sarah was wrong, and I should have stood up for you. Can we please talk? For a moment, my heart softened. This was what I'd been waiting for, wasn't it? An apology, an acknowledgement that he'd hurt me. I appreciate the apology, Marcus. So can you help us? Just this once. We'll pay you back, I promise. And there it was. The apology wasn't real. It was just another manipulation to get what he wanted. No, baby, I can't. You mean you won't? I mean I can't. I gave you everything I had for 3 years. There's nothing left to give. He hung up on me. 2 weeks went by with no contact. I won't lie, it hurt. Despite everything, he was still my son. I still loved him. But Dorothy reminded me that love doesn't mean accepting abuse. You can love someone from a distance, Renate. You can want the best for them without letting them destroy you. I focused on reclaiming my space. I cleaned out their room, donated the things they'd left behind. I rearranged my furniture back to how I liked it. I started watching my gospel programs at whatever volume I wanted. I cooked the foods I enjoyed without worrying about someone's carb count. It felt strange at first, quiet, empty. But slowly, it started feeling peaceful. Then 3 weeks after they'd left, something happened that I never could have predicted. My phone rang at 7 in the morning. Sarah's number this time. Renate, you need to help us. The police are involved. My blood ran cold. What happened? Is Marcus okay? He's fine, but we're being evicted from the motel. We haven't paid in 2 weeks, and they called the police. They're giving us 2 hours to clear out or they'll arrest us for trespassing. Despite everything, my mother's heart kicked in. Where will you go? That's why I'm calling. We need to come back. Just temporarily. Just until we figure things out. No. What do you mean, no? Renate, we'll be on the street. You both have jobs. You can find a shelter. You can ask Sarah's parents for help. You have options that don't involve me. Her parents won't help. They said we made our bed. We have to lie in it. Interesting how Sarah's parents could set boundaries without guilt, but I was expected to keep giving forever. Then I guess you understand how I feel, I said calmly. You're really going to let your son be homeless? I'm not letting him do anything. He's a grown man who made choices. Now he's dealing with consequences. Sarah started crying. Real or fake, I could not tell anymore. Please, Renate, I'm begging you. We have nowhere else to go. You should have thought about that before you told me I wasn't special enough for your wedding. I hung up. My hands were shaking again, but I didn't cave. I didn't call back. I didn't offer help. An hour later, Dorothy called. Girl, did you see Facebook? No. Why? Sarah posted about how you kicked them out and refused to help them. She's painting you as this terrible, heartless mother. My stomach dropped. What's she saying? That you threw them out with no warning, that they're homeless because of you, that you turned your back on your own son? She's getting a lot of sympathy comments. I felt sick. My reputation in the community mattered to me. Church members, neighbors, people I'd known for decades, they'd all see those posts. What should I do? Tell the truth, Dorothy said firmly. Make your own post. Tell your side. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't air our dirty laundry like that. Despite everything, some part of me still wanted to protect Marcus. Instead, I called Pastor Jenkins. I told him everything, the whole story, holding nothing back. When he finished, there was a long silence. Sister Renate, you did the right thing. Enabling isn't love. It's fear disguised as compassion. But people are going to think. People who know you will know the truth. People who don't know you don't matter. You hold your head high. His words helped, but it still hurt. It hurt to be painted as the villain in a story where I'd been the victim. 2 days later, Marcus called again. Mom, I need to talk to you, face to face. Can I come by? Something in his voice was different. Defeated. All right. Tomorrow at 2. He showed up alone, no Sarah. He looked terrible, thinner, tired, wearing the same clothes I'd seen him in weeks ago. We sat in my living room, and for a long moment, neither of us spoke. I'm sorry, he finally said. And this time, it sounded real. Not because I need something, just, I'm sorry for all of it. What changed? I asked. Being on the street changes you real quick. Sarah's parents finally agreed to let us stay with them, but only her. They said I'd need to figure out my own situation, so she left. She's staying with them, and He trailed off. Where are you staying? A friend's couch, but that's ending soon. He looked at me with desperate eyes. I'm not here to ask for money or to move back. I just needed you to know that I see it now. I see what I did, how I used you, how I took you for granted. Why now? I asked. Because I lost everything, Mom. I lost my wife. She's talking about annulment. I lost my home. I lost my dignity. And I realized the only person who ever really had my back was you. And I destroyed that. Tears were running down his face. Real tears, not manipulation. Part of me wanted to comfort him, to tell him everything would be okay, to offer him his room back. But I didn't. I forgive you, Marcus. I do. But that doesn't mean things go back to how they were. I know. I just needed to say it. He stood to leave, and at the door he turned back. I love you, Mom. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to prove I can stand on my own. I love you too, baby, and I believe you can. After he left, I cried for the first time in weeks. But these tears were different. These were tears of grief. Grief for the relationship we'd had, for the time we lost, for the trust that had been broken. But also tears of hope. Hope that maybe, just maybe, this was rock bottom. And the only way from rock bottom is up. 6 months passed. 6 months of silence from Marcus, except for one text message. I got my own apartment. Small, but it's mine. Paying my own bills. Thought you should know. I cried when I read that text. Pride, relief, sadness, all mixed together. Sarah filed for annulment 3 months after the wedding. Apparently, when the money ran out and real life set in, their love story fell apart. Marcus didn't fight it. According to Dorothy, who heard it through the church grapevine, he told people he understood why she left. "I wasn't ready to be a husband," he had said. "I was still acting like a child." I didn't reach out during those 6 months. I wanted to. Lord knows I wanted to. But I knew he needed this time. He needed to prove to himself that he could survive without me bailing him out every time things got hard. I focused on myself. For the first time in 38 years, I had nobody to take care of except me. It felt foreign at first, almost wrong. But slowly, I started to enjoy it. I took a trip to Savannah with Dorothy. Just a weekend, but it was the first vacation I had taken in a decade. We walked along River Street, ate at nice restaurants, laughed until our stomachs hurt. I felt young again, free. I redecorated my house the way I wanted it. Bright colors that made me happy. Pictures on the walls of places I wanted to visit. I even got a cat, an orange tabby I named Faith, because I'd always wanted a pet, but Marcus had allergies. I started attending a Bible study group for women my age. We met every Tuesday evening, and slowly I made new friends. Women who understood loss, who understood sacrifice, who understood that sometimes loving yourself isn't selfish, it's survival. One Tuesday evening, 7 months after Marcus had left, I came home from Bible study to find him sitting on my porch steps. My heart jumped. "Marcus? What are you doing here?" He stood up and I noticed he looked different, healthier, more confident, like he'd found something he'd lost. "I came to talk, if that's okay." We sat on the porch, watching the sunset paint the sky orange and purple. "How are you?" I asked. "I'm good, Mom. Really good. I got promoted at work, making enough to actually save money now. I'm taking a financial literacy class at the community center, learning how to budget, how to manage money properly." He paused. "Things you tried to teach me that I was too stubborn to learn." "I'm proud of you, baby." I also started therapy, talking to someone about why I felt so entitled, why I thought the world owed me something just because my dad died when I was young. That surprised me. "And what did you learn?" "That I was angry. Angry at Dad for leaving, angry at the world for being unfair, angry at you for not being able to fix everything." He looked at me with tears in his eyes. "I took out 38 years of anger on you, and you didn't deserve any of it." "Marcus, let me finish, please." He took a deep breath. "I made a payment plan for the money I owe you. It's going to take me 4 years to pay back the full $33,000, but I'm going to do it. $100 every 2 weeks. I set up automatic transfers to your account. You should see the first payment by Friday." I started crying. "You don't have to." "Yes, I do. Not because you asked, but because it's right. You gave me that money when I needed it, and I repay my debts. That's what adults do." We sat in silence for a moment, and then he said quietly, "I also wanted to apologize for the wedding, for real this time. What Sarah and I did, excluding you, that was cruel. It was disrespectful. And I let it happen because I was afraid of standing up to her, afraid of rocking the boat. I chose keeping peace with my wife over honoring my mother." "Why?" I asked. "Why was it so easy to disrespect me?" "Because you always forgave me. Because no matter what I did, you were always there. I took that for granted. I thought you'd always be there, so I didn't have to treat you well." He wiped his eyes. Losing you was the worst thing that ever happened to me. Worse than losing Sarah. Worse than being homeless. Because I realized I destroyed the one relationship that actually mattered. You didn't destroy it, baby. You damaged it. But we can rebuild. Can we? His voice was so hopeful, so vulnerable. Yes, but not the same way. Things are different now. I know, and that's okay. Better, actually. He smiled through his tears. I don't need you to be my safety net anymore, Mom. I need you to be my mother. Someone I respect, someone I honor, someone I treat the way she deserves. We hugged on that porch for a long time, and for the first time in years, it felt real. Not obligatory, not transactional, just a mother and son who'd found their way back to each other. Marcus started visiting regularly after that, once a week for Sunday dinner, but now he brought groceries. He helped with house repairs, he mowed my lawn. He'd stare and talk for hours about his life, his goals, his dreams. And for the first time, he asked about mine. What do you want, Mom? Not what you want for me. What do you want for yourself? Nobody had asked me that in decades. I want to travel. I want to see the ocean. I want to learn how to paint. I want to laugh more. Then let's make that happen, he said. 3 months later, Marcus took me to Miami Beach. We spent 4 days there, him, me, and Dorothy. He paid for everything. Not because I asked, but because he wanted to. I stood in the ocean for the first time in my life, feeling the waves lap at my ankles, and I cried. Marcus came and stood next to me. Thank you for not giving up on me, he said. Thank you for becoming the man I always knew you could be.
2 years have passed since that day on my porch. 2 years of rebuilding, of healing, of learning what healthy love actually looks like. Marcus finished paying me back last month, 4 years early, because he got another promotion and increased his payments. When that final transfer came through, he called me. It's done, Mom. Every penny. I'm so proud of you, baby. I couldn't have done it without you teaching me the hardest lesson of my life, that love without boundaries isn't really love at all. He was right. For 71 years, I thought being a good mother meant sacrificing everything. It took losing my son to learn that the best thing I could do for him was teach him to stand on his own. Last Sunday, Marcus brought someone to dinner. Her name is Angela, and she's a teacher. She's kind, respectful, and when she talks to Marcus, I see something different in his eyes. Equality, partnership, not someone he's trying to use, but someone he's trying to build with. After dinner, Angela helped me wash dishes without being asked. As we stood at the sink, she said quietly, Marcus told me what happened, with his first marriage, with everything. He said you saved his life by refusing to enable him anymore. I just did what I should have done years earlier. Well, whatever you did, it worked. He's one of the most self-aware, responsible men I've ever met. That doesn't happen by accident. When they left that evening, Marcus hugged me tight and whispered, if Angela and I ever get married, you'll be the first person I invite. Front row, center. I promise. I'll be there, baby. I've learned a lot in these past 2 years. I've learned that you can love someone deeply and still set boundaries. I've learned that saying no doesn't make you cruel. Sometimes it makes you wise. I've learned that respect has to be earned and maintained, even between parents and children. Most importantly, I've learned that I matter. My needs matter. My feelings matter. For decades, I put myself last, believing that's what good mothers do. But I was wrong. You can't pour from an empty cup. and I drained myself dry trying to fill everyone else. Dorothy and I take trips now. We've been to Charleston, New Orleans, and next month we're going to New York City. I'm 73 years old, and I'm finally living for myself. I joined a painting class at the community center. I'm terrible at it, but I love it. Every Tuesday and Thursday evening, I'm there with my canvas and brushes, creating something just for me. Faith, my cat, is curled up on my lap right now as I sit in my living room, my peaceful, quiet, beautiful living room, thinking about how different my life looks than it did 2 years ago. Marcus calls me 3 times a week now, not to ask for anything, just to talk, to check on me, to tell me about his day. Real conversations, the kind we never had when he lived here because he was too busy taking and I was too busy giving. Last week, he said something that made me cry. "Mom, I tell all my friends at work about you, about how strong you are, about how you refused to let me waste my potential, about how you loved me enough to let me fail. You're my hero." For 71 years, I tried to be a perfect mother. I thought that meant never saying no, never disappointing, never putting myself first. I thought love meant sacrifice without limit. But I learned the truth the hard way. Real love, the kind that actually helps people grow, includes boundaries. It includes consequences. It includes teaching people that their actions matter and that respect is not optional. The wedding that I wasn't invited to, that was the best thing that ever happened to me. It sounds crazy, but it's true. That moment of being excluded, of being told I wasn't special enough, that was the wake-up call I needed. It shattered the illusion I'd been living under, the belief that if I just gave enough, sacrificed enough, it would all work out. Sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone you love is refuse to participate in their dysfunction. Sometimes the most loving word you can say is no. If I could go back and talk to my younger self, the 33-year-old widow trying to figure out how to raise a son alone, I'd tell her, "You are enough. Your love is enough." But love doesn't mean letting people walk all over you. Teach him to respect you, because respect is the foundation of real love. I tell her to take care of herself too, not to wait until she's 71 to take a vacation, to pursue a hobby, to ask what she wants out of life. But I can't go back. None of us can. All we can do is learn from our mistakes and choose differently going forward. So that's what I did. I chose differently. I chose me. And in doing that, I didn't lose my son. I gained a better relationship with him, one built on mutual respect instead of one-sided sacrifice. Last week, Marcus sent me a photo. It's him and Angela at a jeweler, looking at engagement rings. The text said, "Getting your opinion before I buy. What do you think of this one?" I smiled. He was including me, asking my opinion, valuing my input. That's all I ever wanted. Not to be worshipped or prioritized above everything else, but simply to be respected and valued. I texted back, "Beautiful choice. She'll love it. I'm so happy for you both." And I meant it. Because this time, I know it's different. This time, he's ready. He's grown. He's the man I always believed he could be. As for me, I'm finally the woman I was always meant to be. Not just Marcus's mother, not just someone's caregiver, but Renata Williams, a woman who learned that the most important person to take care of is yourself. Because you can't give what you don't have. And for the first time in my life, my cup isn't just full, it's overflowing. And that, my friends, is how a good mother died and a strong woman was born. Not through cruelty, but through courage. Not through abandonment, but through boundaries. Not through hate, but through the hardest kind of love. The kind that says, "I love you enough to let you grow, even if it hurts both of us." That's my story. That's my truth. And if even one person reading this recognizes themselves in my journey and finds the strength to choose themselves too, then sharing this pain was worth it. Because we teach people how to treat us. And it's never too late to start teaching a better lesson.